what's up everyone? Today we have Stihl. I have a something 130R. I don't know. I'll post it later. But this carb is pretty much the same for all these machines. And the problem that the person's having is it's not starting. He tried the obvious of replacing the spark plug, didn't work. And I've gotten to the point where these Stihl carbs are almost cheaper for me just to replace, and the aftermarket ones are getting to the point where they are, in my opinion, indistinguishable in performance. Longevity, that depends. As long as you give them decent fuel, it won't be a problem. But if you use cheap fuel, then yeah, it will eat them away a little faster. But you know, the customer wants to, or the owner wants this done ASAP, and he agreed to this price point. So we have ourselves a aftermarket carb. It is a HIPAA carb, and no, I did not agree working with any of them, even though I've gotten so many messages. But no, I got this with my own money. No, nothing's being sponsored on this one. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, if DeWalt is listening, though, you can go ahead and contact me. I'm just joking. I know they won't, but wouldn't that be amazing? So these are either 8mm or 5/16, whatever you have available. I have a 5/16, so that's what I'm using. I think technically 5/16 is like 8.0 something or other millimeters, so it's next to identical. Now the problem with Stihls, however, is the clearancing. If you have a wider socket, or in my case this, you can sometimes not have enough space to actually get in there and use it. Oh, not drivers. Anyway. And there we have it. I have not checked the fuel yet, but that is definitely something that we should do right now. The fuel looks pretty disgusting. Ooh. Let's put that there. Show you what I'm looking at. I had a comment on one of them, and the fuel wasn't pristine. It was a bad fuel video. Someone said they ran that fuel all the time and they have no issues. Well, you will later. Old fuel in these machines, especially stuff like weed eaters, they generally don't use full throttle all the time. It's a recipe for problems in the future, like carboning up. Spark arresters are definitely a big one. But T fuel, it's not necessarily ideal. So, moving forward, let us take a look at the fuel. Oh, fuel line actually looks good, and so does the fuel filter, so that's good. Let us remove some fuel lines here. Let's take a needle nose. If you did not remove the fuel, and there was fuel in there right now, you're going to want to empty, or at least take the fuel cap off. If you don't, you will have fuel spew out when removing these lines. The tank has a little bit of pressure in it. So the bottom can sometimes be stuck because there is another like port on it. Don't be alarmed. I'm going to remove this little cap back here real quick. Okay, that vacuum port really made it real difficult, but we got it. I'll show you to you in a minute. But we're going to hopefully be able to remove this throttle. Sorry, I know you can't see anything, but neither can I. There we go. I decided not to remove that little plate. It seems like it's going to be more difficult. Right there is what I'm talking about. It goes in on that bottom section. It was real stuck. So now we look at the two carbs and we see if there's any noticeable differences on them. Since it is aftermarket, we just want to make sure. So far, with the exception of the bend on this fuel line or fuel inlet, it appears to be identical. That might be a fuel outlet, actually. Yeah, I think that's a fuel outlet. Anyway, moving forward, we are going to look at this gasket. It's not looking horrible, but it's also not looking spectacular either. Let us take it off and replace it. Usually I'd be looking at the reason why this machine is not running correctly, but the owner straight up just told me, I don't even want to bother, I just want a new carburetor, so can you please just install it for me? Rightio. I have to get that port in again, and then the throttle is just a little piece right here. It goes in. If you look real close, you can see on here it will just slide into place. So I'm going to go ahead and get that installed, and then we'll take a look at it. Okay, so something to note is the owner, I'm mainly just doing this for his purpose, to be honest. So, hello, Raphael. Anyway, did not provide the cover. So, I got one from eBay. Pretty sure it's not the right type. It is not. We need to take off that cover again. But I need to go ahead and take off this little plastic piece again, and then it should slip right on. Looks like the one for the weed eater is just a little bit different, but hopefully it will slide right on. If not, then we'll have to make it. Unfortunately, the cover I have is not the right one, but you know, it happens, whatever. That's gonna make it a little difficult to tune because I don't have the end on it. I don't have an end for any Stihl. So that's not the ideal. You're going to want at least the end on it and an air filter and cover. But we can at least see if the new carb works, and if he needs to have me tune it up later, he could have me tune it up later, or I'll tell him generally how to do it. I have a flathead for the idle and a hexagon tool for the carb adjustment. I've already primed it. New carbs generally don't need a whole lot of choke to begin with, so I'm going to not and play with the choke later. So it's on no choke now. You know what? I kind of like the way it is. Like I said, this is nowhere near where it should be probably, but it sounds pretty good. It revs up pretty good. Idle's pretty good. I wouldn't say it's too high or too low. I think we're set. Let's see if I can read this at all. It's a KM130R. Anyway, 130R KM. So that's good. So we have it running, and if you're having a problem very similar to, you know, the Weedier equivalent or anything, this carb should work the same. I think this actually came off a FS series if I remember correctly. But either way, seems to run pretty good. The whole thing was like 16 or 18 bucks, and you have brand new carb. So if you're having run issues, new fuel, new carb, should be pretty decent. Spark arrestor, that could be it, but you know, that's well above and beyond the scope of this video. Hope you have a good evening. Follow me on Instagram, SmallEngine101. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good rest of your night.